Whiteness isn't neutral. This is part two in a series of the journey of deconstructing whiteness. I've been thinking about some of these responses from my last video, and I want to be a little bit more direct this time. When I say whiteness isn't neutral, I don't mean that it's misunderstood. I mean it was never neutral to begin with. Whiteness isn't just a description of skin color, it's a system that was built over time to decide who gets access, who gets seen as normal, and who doesn't. And we see this show up in spaces and places we aren't required to question. For instance, what we consider professional, how someone's expected to speak, what is seen as appropriate hair, whose history gets centered, and whose gets left out, even what feels safe or right in different spaces. And if you're being honest with yourself, a lot of those things just feel normal to us. But I need you to understand they didn't just appear out of nowhere. Instead, they were shaped in specific historical contexts, oftentimes in the form of narratives, by people who had the power to define what was right and normal. And then those definitions got passed down as if they were neutral, as if they applied the same to everyone. But they don't. A great example of this can be seen in schools. For instance, what we call good behavior, what we call academic success, what we call a good student. Those aren't just random standards. Look, I'm not saying that people don't work hard. I'm saying a lot of us were able to move through these systems without ever having to question them because they were built in ways that made that easily possible. And I've been wrestling with that for quite some time because as an educator, that hits different. It pushed me many years ago to start asking who decides what success looks like? Who benefits from those definitions? And who's being asked to adjust themselves just to fit in or assimilate? Listen, as I said, I'm still learning and unlearning these things. But once you begin to see that these systems were built, you can't really go back to thinking they just are. Let's continue the conversation. What are your questions? What do you want to see me possibly address? Let's talk about this.